A graveyard of concrete and rebar. Rain-streaked walls weep soot. The sky is the color of a bruised lung purple, heavy, and rapidly bleeding into dark night. A howling wind whistles through the skeletal remains of what used to be a high-rise residential district. It is a ghost city, evacuated months ago when the siege began. In the belly of a hollowed-out third-floor room, completely obscured by shadows and fallen plaster, lies Miller. He is wrapped in a tattered, heavy ghillie suit made of woven burlap, local dirt, and shredded insulation. He looks less like a man and more like a mound of forgotten debris. His rifle, a heavy, custom-built, suppressed bolt-action chambered in .338 Lapua Magnum, protrudes just an inch past a jagged hole in the concrete wall. He is a statue. He hasn't blinked in 60 seconds. The world, through the high-end digital optic, is rendered entirely in stark, high-contrast thermal imaging. There are no colors here, only degrees of life. Neon whites and blinding, hot oranges stand out in sharp relief against a freezing, deep blue background of dead architecture. The crosshairs, a delicate grid of mill dots, settle on an open window frame inside a bombed-out administrative building exactly 800 yards across the dead zone. The target, Khalil, a brilliant, glowing silhouette of white heat. He is pacing back and forth, a radio pressed to his ear. The heat signatures of his pulsing veins are visible through his clothing. The complication, pressed tightly against Khalil's front, is a second, much smaller, thermal signature. A child, no older than 6, used as a literal shield. The child's body heat bleeds directly into Khalil's, blurring the clean margins of the kill zone. Every time Khalil moves, he keeps the child positioned perfectly between himself and the open air.
Target acquired. 800 yards. Crosswind, blowing east to west at 4 knots. Windage left, 2 clicks. Elevation steady, but he's wearing a thermal shield. A human one. I can't find the seam.
Assess the outline. Ignore the variables. Find the anatomical separation. The mission parameters require a clean extraction of the asset. Eliminate the host. The child is an acceptable margin of collateral if the host remains viable. Miller's index finger, clad in a fingerless woolen glove, rests lightly against the curved metal of the trigger. His breathing is a slow, rhythmic tide. Deep inhale. Hold for 4 seconds. Exhale over 4 seconds.
I don't have the angle. Baseline. The child is too small. If the round tumbles on impact, the hydrostatic shock will rip through both of them. I need him to step left, just 1 foot to the left. He shifts his weight by a fraction of a millimeter, adjusting his hip against the cold concrete. His right eye remains glued to the rubber optic cup, absorbing the glowing data.
He shifts his weight by a fraction of a millimeter, adjusting his hip against the cold concrete. His right eye remains glued to the rubber optic cup, absorbing the glowing data. The sound is microscopic, infinitesimal. But to a man who has lived in absolute silence for 48 hours, it hits like a thunderclap. It is the distinct, brittle snap of a single dry autumn leaf being compressed under the heavy, rubber-soled boot of a combat professional. It came from the dark, cavernous corridor directly behind him. Miller's body locks up. He does not gasp. He does not turn his head, but his biology betrays him. In the bottom left corner of his scope's digital display, his integrated biometric wristwatch flashes a pulsing amber warning. Heart rate, 115 beats per minute. Critical, spike. Anomalous acoustic signature detected. Proximity, less than 5 meters. Direction, 6 o'clock. Status, your perimeter has been breached. You are no longer the apex hunter in this sector. Miller's jaw tightens. He forces his lungs to stay empty. A sudden movement now spinning around to face the threat will cause his ghillie suit to rustle. The movement will give away his position to the phantom behind him, and the flash of movement will alert Khalil across the valley. He is caught in a lethal, invisible vice.
How did he get up the stairwell? I raked the tripwire at the base of the structure. I placed a monofilament line with a fragmentation charge. It's still intact.
Counter-sniper protocol. He didn't use the stairs. He bypassed the vertical funnel. Look at the architectural layout. He scaled the external elevator shaft using tactical ascenders. He's looking for your lens flare. Do not blink. Do not twitch. Miller's eyes dart horizontally, keeping his head perfectly frozen against the stock of his rifle. To his left, about 2 feet away, the fading twilight catches a jagged piece of a broken bathroom mirror resting on a pile of shattered drywall. In its cracked, dusty reflection, Miller can see a razor-thin sliver of the doorway behind him. The corridor is a maw of pitch blackness. Nothing moves. Then, a microscopic, dancing speck of crimson. A tactical laser designator, splashing invisibly to the naked eye but highly visible against the dust-choked air, paints the concrete wall just 3 inches above Miller's head. The counter-sniper is methodically painting the room, grid by grid, trying to distinguish the organic shape of a human body from the chaotic geometry of the rubble.
He knows I'm in this quadrant. He knows I chose this vantage point. He just doesn't know which pile of garbage belongs to me.
The moment you fire at Khalil, the hypersonic muzzle blast will ignite the dust particles in your immediate vicinity. Your muzzle flash will betray your exact coordinates. The counter-sniper is holding an active angle. He will execute you before your spent brass casing hits the floor.
And if I turn to engage the counter-sniper, Khalil hears the shot, slips into the subterranean tunnels, and vanishes for the next 6 months. 2 targets, 1 bullet in the chamber, 1 life to give.
Through the scope, the thermal world shifts. Khalil moves. He steps closer to the windowsill, dragging the child by the arm. But the child trips over a piece of debris on their side of the room. Khalil stumbles forward, his upper torso separating from the kid's body weight. For a split second, because of the specific angle of the crumbling window frame, Khalil's head and neck clear the child's silhouette entirely. A pristine, unblemished target. A 3-second window of vulnerability. Target isolated. Separation achieved. Fire. Behind Miller, the sound of a heavy fabric rustle. The unmistakable low clack-click of a polymer rifle stock being pulled tight against a tactical vest. The counter-sniper has settled into a standing-ready shooting stance. He is looking right at the mound of burlap where Miller lies. Miller closes his eyes for 1 beat. He feels the cold rain spraying through the window, hitting his cheek. He exhales every molecule of oxygen from his body, flattening his chest against the dirt. The digital readout drops. Heart rate, 68 beats per minute. Steady.
Let's see how fast my reflexes really are.
Miller does not turn around to face his stalker. Instead, he violently jerks his rifle barrel an inch to the left, deliberately slamming the heavy steel suppressor against the concrete windowsill. It is a sharp, metallic error, a deliberate, amateur mistake designed to mimic panic. Behind him, a sudden, sharp intake of breath from the dark corridor. The counter-sniper reacts instantly to the sudden sound at the window, shifting his aim toward the noise. In that exact microsecond, Miller's finger snaps back on the trigger. The suppressed .338 rifle gasps, a puff of compressed carbon expanding into the room. But Miller isn't watching the target through the scope anymore. The instant the trigger breaks, he abandons the weapon entirely. Using his elbows, he hurls his body violently to his right, rolling into a deep trench of fallen drywall and insulation. A fraction of a second later, an unsuppressed, deafening roar echoes from the dark corridor. A high-caliber counter-sniper round tears through the exact patch of floor where Miller's chest had been resting a heartbeat ago. The impact pulverizes the concrete, sending a geyser of white dust, stone chips, and burning burlap into the air. The shockwave rattles Miller's teeth, but he keeps moving. He rolls onto his back, his hands already moving with mechanical fluidity. He rips his secondary weapon, a suppressed 9mm pistol, from his chest rig. Through the blinding, swirling cloud of white drywall dust filling the room, a dark, imposing silhouette steps heavily through the doorway. The counter-sniper, dressed in sleek, high-tech urban camouflage, raises his smoking rifle, expecting to see a mangled corpse. Instead, he finds Miller looking right up at him from the floor. Miller fires 3 times in rapid, rhythmic succession. The counter-sniper gasps, his body jerking, as the rounds find the unarmored seams beneath his collarbone. He stumbles backward, his rifle slipping from his grip, before crashing heavily into the iron rebar of the hallway. He twitches once, then goes entirely still. Silence floods back into the room, save for the patter of rain and Miller's ragged breathing. Miller lies flat on his back for 5 seconds, staring at the cracked ceiling, covered from head to toe in white dust. He looks like a ghost rising from a tomb. Slowly, painfully, he drags himself across the floor, back to his primary rifle. The barrel is radiating intense heat. He pulls himself into a prone position, clears the dust off the rear optic lens with his thumb, and peers back through the scope, sweeping past the smoke. Across the 800-yard gap to the target window, the window of the administrative building is empty. But on the jagged concrete windowsill, a brilliant, glowing splash of neon white and hot orange thermal fluid is cooling down in the rain, dripping slowly down the exterior brickwork like liquid starfire. Beside the window, a smaller, faint thermal signature, the child, is seen running away from the glass, moving deeper into the shadows and safety of the building's interior. Alone, terrified, but completely unharmed. Miller lowers his forehead against the cold stock of his rifle. His shoulders drop.
Handler, this is Bravo 1. Threat neutralized. Both of them. The asset is clear. Requesting extraction coordinates.
He pulls the heavy bolt of his rifle back. A hot, spent brass casing ejects with a metallic ring, clinking against the ruined floor and rolling into the darkness.